So we're back with another best anime of insert year, and I gotta be honest, we have got to get out of the 70s because as cool as a lot of these shows are, most of them are just staples of anime history and not really something you want to go back and watch. And frankly, I want to talk about stuff outside the lens of giving a respectable nod to history. So we do have some interesting premises here for the last half of the 70s though, so let's just go ahead and ride through it really quick. Up first, to bust out 1974, we have Star Blazers. This is one of those stories I can't wait to see get a modern rendition because the premise is really cool. It just gets held back by a lot of the over-the-top cheesy 70s campiness that a lot of animated stuff dealt with around this time. This anime is cited as being one of the first English dubs in America to really get some momentum and popularity though, so I'm sure leaning into that cartoon campiness helped a lot with that. Now, I haven't seen the modern rendition quite yet, but to my understanding, it's a faithful retelling that even goes as far to expand on what's already here, so I look forward to that whenever I get the chance to talk about it. The premise is this world is an alternate timeline where an alien invasion united the entire world into a World War III style battle. Unfortunately, humanity loses, and the result is the entirety of Earth gets covered in radiation. This means humanity has to find another planet to get to or a way to save Earth before the radiation reaches them underground, which is where they've had out all this time. It isn't the craziest or the most unique, but it's interesting to see play out. It focuses less on the struggles of humanity and more on the conflict between humans and aliens. I'm gonna just leave it there because I want to dive into this series at a later point in time, so let's move on. Up next with 1975, we have The Adventure of Gamba, a cute show about a mouse adventuring with his friends. Yeah, and then we have Machine Hayabusa, I hope that's how you say that, a show about a kid who wants to get revenge for his brother who was killed by an evil group called the Black Shadow. This is a group of racers who destroy everyone they go up against until the main character Ken forms a team and challenges them in the name of his brother. It's cool. Transitioning from 1976, we move into 1977 with Jetter Mars and Lupin Part 2. These both are the top dogs from 1977. Jetter Mars being just Astro Boy. I didn't talk about Astro Boy before because the very first Astro Boy anime was a decent bit before the 1970s, but here it is now with Lupin. I'm honestly tempted never to bring up Lupin or Astro Boy ever again, since spoilers, this is nowhere near the only anime adaptations they have to offer, and it seems pointless to keep bringing them up over and over and over again in each respective year. But at the same time, I know if I don't, some random guy is gonna comment and be like, bro, how is this the best anime of 1984 and you don't even have Lupin? So I'll just acknowledge them in quick blurbs like this and keep it pushing. Better yet, I'll keep a count of how many times they come up. So we're at 2 for each right now. A sleeper to close out 1977 is My Name is Teppei, which is a pretty decent series about a character named, spoilers, Teppei and his journey as a kid who grew up in a mountain, followed by his interactions in school and just assimilating into a family and society as a whole. The first half of the series focuses more on him and his father and the life in the mountain before he eventually goes off to school. When he gets to school, he realizes that he's a Mary Sue like every other shonen protagonist, and he's really good at kendo. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to completely butcher the definition of kendo and make it really reductionist, so I apologize to any kendo purists out there. But it's essentially, in layman's terms, like a Japanese form of fencing, where you use wooden swords and you emulate sort of a sword fight. And as time evolved, they got all these rules and this point system, and it's not the most popular sport in the world, but it is a sport that takes a lot of skill and technique and years of training to become good at. So this random kid from the mountains coming along in this school system and being magically really good at kendo is something that's kind of funny to see. It's not to be taken super serious, and I wouldn't say it's the traditional sports anime, but it kind of does fall back on its sports slash shonen roots at times. It's more so for comedic effect, I'm not gonna lie. They're trying to make you laugh. They're not gonna really break down and get into a super serious kendo battle where you don't know if Teppei is gonna be able to beat the person standing in front of him or anything like that. But that being said, I enjoyed my time. It was cool. At 1978, we have Captain Future. As we start exiting the 1970s, Captain Future proves to be one of the last few Saturday morning cartoon style anime, at least for a bit. It's episodic and it has that Doctor Who or Star Trek appeal where Captain Future does a lot of space traveling in every episode, or every other episode he's meeting a new group of people, and there are a lot of really interesting and unique character designs. Some of them feel just wrong, but for the most part it's pretty cool world building. The storylines are pretty simple and straightforward. They occasionally tackle some more serious stuff like slavery or things like that, but they never go too hard with it. Generally speaking, it's people doing bad things and it's up to Captain Future and his friends to save the day. Continuing on with 1978, we have Space Pirate Captain Harlock. This is an anime that's very relevant in today's climate of robots and AI and blah blah blah, as it follows a story about a society that has advanced robots and artificial intelligence so far that humanity has become somewhat complacent and docile and completely oblivious to the evils happening around them. Again, really cool premise, sort of silly and over the top at times, as a lot of these 70s shows are, and somewhat unrealistic considering that, well, we're kind of docile and ignorant to the evils around us right now without the robots or artificial intelligence. So yeah, moving on. To close out 1978, we come to what is probably my favorite anime in this entire video, with Ginga Tetsuro 999. This is a really good movie that I will not spoil here, and I truly believe is worth watching even today. The story takes place in a distant future where humanity has found a way to live forever by purchasing mechanical bodies. As you can imagine though, this is stupidly expensive and it's really hard to do without money. Only those in the upper class of society are right now able to afford it. Our main character, a boy named Tetsuro, wants to live forever and hears that if you get to the last stop on a train that travels the entire length of the universe, then you get one of these mechanical bodies for free. And that's all I'm telling you. If you want to know any more, that's on you to go watch yourself. It's good. I enjoy it. I like the aesthetic, I like the art, I like the music, I like the voice acting. It's solid. It's a really solid anime film and a decent underrated bit of anime history. So go watch. And to close out the 70s, we're going to end with a bang with the one and only Mobile Suit Gundam. We exit with the legendary and iconic series that was created by Tomino. I think that's how you pronounce that. I've actually never heard anyone say Tomino's name out loud, surprisingly. So yeah. This first aired in Japan in 1979, and it's one of the most legendary war stories in all of anime, and I'm not going to go into great detail about it because I want to give it its own proper shine one day in a video. But I will say this is one of two mech-ish, robot-ish animes that I personally still consider really top tier and worth watching, despite being someone that's not really into the whole mech thing. Mobile Suit Gundam is a crazy ride from beginning to end, and even being decades old at this point, it's still an adventure worth taking, at least in my opinion. It's also an early anime that got a little momentum in the West years later, having its dubbed be aired on Cartoon Network and specifically Toonami for a little while, before unfortunately being pulled off the air for what some people seem to guess is because of the 9/11 tragedy, and a lot of American networks at this point decided that it was no time for stories related to war, so it would line up with that if that was the case. No one's ever come out and been able to say this is the exact reason why we delayed the airing of Mobile Suit Gundam, but most people speculate that this was the reason. I can only imagine being a kid and your favorite show being ripped off the air and you having no idea that it's connected to this terrifying thing that just happened to your country. that's just insane. The early 2000s and late 90s were certainly a time in history. But then again, I'm sure in 50 years there are going to be some kids on YouTube that look back at what's happening right now in the world and say that was a crazy time in history. So what are you going to do? Despite this though, Toonami did eventually finish airing Mobile Suit Gundam with their New Year's Eve special, where they just kind of played them all in a marathon type style. So that's good. With that all being said, we have now officially finished the best anime of all 1970 to 1979. Alright, that's that. We're done with the 70s. In the next, not the next video that I actually upload, but in the next video in this series, we will officially begin covering the 80s. And there's some truly monumental anime in the 80s, as I'm sure many of you know. Super excited to talk about those. I did a poll that determined that this was the next video I was going to upload. I was very surprised this actually won, but I'll put it on the screen now. I occasionally do these. I don't do these every single time, but I'm going to do these like here and there. So if you're just someone who casually stops by every now and again, you're not subscribed, maybe that's a little incentive to subscribe, so you know you can vote for the video that you actually want to see and not miss it. I'm probably going to do Itachi next as a greatest in anime video. That will be the next video I upload, only because despite the fact that it tied with Reina, this person actually commented and said he wanted to see Itachi. So I'm just gonna give him like the extra vote because he took the time to comment. So yeah, that's that. I don't think I have anything else. No, we're good. All right, I make videos of this quality or better all the time. I am leaving.